Hello, classmates. My name is Cassandra Franklin, and today I wanted to show you guys my presentation, my project that I did on communication, technology, and change in education. And we're going to specifically be exploring the one-to-one technology in education. So as an introduction, the reason why I wanted to kind of talk about this, so these statistics right here are coming from a survey done by Education Week periodical. So prior to the pandemic, about 2/3 of middle and high schools and 40% of elementary schools were providing a technology device for every student. So that's what we mean by one-to-one technology, that for every student in the classroom, there is some kind of a device that they are assigned to that they're able to use. They're not sharing devices. But that all changed after the pandemic, and so in 2021, the survey found that 90% of middle and high schools and 84% of elementary schools were providing a technology device for every student. So sometimes students take these devices home, and then they're responsible for them at home. Sometimes they have to return them over the summer. Sometimes they don't. Every school does it a little bit differently, but the one-to-one technology means that every student in the school is assigned a device. They're usually either iPads or laptop computers. So as we explore this one-to-one technology and its impacts on schools and our education systems, we're going to look at a few different things. So the first thing that we're going to look at is concerns about the higher usage of technology in classrooms. So according to surveys done by Education Weekly over a 2-year span, about 80% of teachers observed that as the amount of screen time increased, that student behavior worsened. So that's one concern, was that if you spend any time around kids, you kind of know that a lot of times a higher amount of screen time can a lot of times lead to more behavior concerns. Because of the effect that it has on their brain and the way that they're processing things. A lot of times it causes things like struggles with impulse control and things like that. So the survey that was done on that, it was done over grades K through 12. And so there could be, I would guess that it would probably be higher in the younger ages, more so than the high school students. There's also a concern that as students are spending more time on technology devices, that they're going to be using less time developing fine motor skills because they're not going to be spending as much time writing and using writing materials, and that's really important for fine motor development. This is a concern that's been noticed by teachers and occupational therapists, so there's research being done on it, but so far the research is inconclusive. It's still pretty soon to really be able to have like some long-term studies done on it. So mainly that's just what we're hearing for right now, but more research needs to be done for us to know for sure. And then we also have to worry about the reliability and the availability of stable internet access for students when they're taking these devices home. So according to a survey done by the National Center for Education Statistics, about 41% of public school districts were not providing internet access for families that could not afford internet access during the 2022-23 school year. So some districts are providing that for their students, but not all of them are. So we still have the concern of students taking these devices home, but not having the internet access to use these. The devices that they're using, like iPads and these laptops, they really rely heavily on stable internet access, which means that the students that are taking these devices home without internet access, they're at a significant disadvantage to their peers that do have reliable internet access at home. So these are some of the pros of one-to-one technology in classrooms. So the first thing we're going to look at is increased student engagement, that children tend to be more engaged in their learning when they're using technology. The students that are entering our schools right now, this generation, they've known technology all their lives. They're used to using it to communicate and to function in their world, and so being able to use the same kind of technology in school that they're used to using at home, it gives them more engagement and it makes them more likely to want to participate. Then there's also flexibility in teaching materials for teachers. It's no secret that most teachers are spending a lot of their own money on materials and things to enhance their classroom, and having technology provided for their students has the ability to lower that cost for teachers. There's a lot of open education resources that are free for teachers, that there's educational apps and games that they can provide to their students to enhance their learning, and it doesn't cost them or the students anything extra to use it. And then also on top of that, we're also teaching digital literacy to the students that we have right now. The students that are in our schools right now, they're heading into an increasingly digital world. And so giving them the skills of how to handle the digital devices that they're going to be using and giving them the skills to process in that way, and having that digital literacy is going to really go a long way for them in their careers. So now that we've talked about some of the concerns and the pros of having the one-to-one technology in our classrooms, let's move on and talk about some of the challenges that we're going to face. So the first one is the financial needs that these devices have to be paid for. So in my district, I live in the Polk County district, the one-to-one device initiative was just made possible last year, and it was made possible by a $28 million grant that was made to Polk County schools. So in my district, in Polk County, elementary and middle school students receive iPads that they're assigned to that they can take home, and they don't get to keep them during the summer. And then high school students are receiving laptops or Chromebooks. So parents are asked to pay for additional insurance for these devices for a monthly cost, but the cost of replacing them should something happen to them is between $350 and $650, depending on which device it is. And then besides the actual cost of the technology, schools and districts, they also have to be able to provide the staff, the IT staff, to handle all of these devices, taking care of them, making sure they're loaded the way they are. If there's an issue, somebody has to fix that. So there's a cost involved with all of that. And then some districts are providing internet access for these students at home. In my district, some of the schools are providing hotspots for students to take home so that they have internet access at home. So moving on, we're going to talk about internet safety. And even though the schools are setting these devices up in a way that can block inappropriate content on these devices, we all know that it is a challenge to keep kids safe online, and it's only getting harder and harder. So that's another challenge that districts have to really keep in mind, how they can keep their students safe. And they have to be able to teach those skills to the students and the parents too, because as they're taking these devices home, the parents also have to be informed and know how to keep their kids safe on those devices. Teachers are going to have to take time to set up the ground rules for how to use these devices in their classroom. They're going to have to take time to teach kids just the very basics of how to use them. And so a lot of teachers feel like that's taking up valuable teaching time. And then a lot of teachers are concerned about distractions during teaching time because of the devices. Most teachers agree that these can be a really valuable resource, but it's a real issue to have to deal with making sure that the students are still staying on task, and that when they're on those devices, they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing if they're on them in the classroom, and that they're not playing games that they're not supposed to be playing, they're not using them as a way to communicate with other people when they're supposed to be doing other things. It can really cause a big distraction if teachers are not able to keep it under control during the classroom day. So as we look to the future of what this one-to-one technology is going to mean, one big thing that districts and parents and families have to be aware of right now is AI technology. So AI technology is not new. We're just hearing more about it with the advancement of things like ChatGPT. A lot of us have already used some kind of AI technology. Me personally, I've been using Duolingo for about a year now to learn Spanish. I'm hoping to avoid having to actually take a Spanish class before I graduate, and I'm hoping that with Duolingo I'll be able to test out of it. So that's an example of an AI program that's teaching me another language. But then, of course, as we're seeing as AI is becoming more and more popular, that there's some concerns. So here's some pros we're going to talk about first and some concerns about that to keep in mind for the future. So the nice thing about AI technology is it can personalize learning. Duolingo is not just a program that you go through different levels on. It figures out what your struggles are, what your strengths are, and it works directly with you to strengthen the things that you're weak in. And a lot of programs are like that the AI technology allows the learning process to be personalized to you. Technology is also making assessments easier for students. And then there's actually facial recognition software from AI technology that can help recognize and determine students' learning styles based on their eye contact, their facial features, and things like that. But there are some concerns with it also. There's ethical concerns about AI, especially in the older grades. A lot of teachers and professors are concerned about cheating and plagiarism due to AI. And then we really need more education about the best practices for utilizing it. There's a lot of concern right now about it being racially discriminatory, even sometimes just downright vulgar because it's just putting out what it's received. And so it's basing, the technology is based on what it sees in the digital world. And so not everything that's on the digital world is good. So the main thing, though, is that we really need more research about the future implications of AI in the classroom. Students, teachers, professors, districts, we don't need to be in a really big hurry to start using a lot of AI technology in our classrooms until more research is done, until we can get a better idea of what exactly we're dealing with here, before we start fully implementing that. So thank you for giving me this chance to talk to you guys today about the past and the present and the future of one-to-one technology in our classrooms and what that's looking like for our students and what it could look like in the future. Here's a quick page showing all of the sources that I went to. There's a lot of really good information from scholarly sources, and so feel free to look up any of those if you want. And if you'd like any more information on any of this, you can leave a comment. There was a lot more research that I did that I wasn't able to implement into this presentation, but I'd be happy to pass it along to you if you're interested. All right, thank you.